This is Goals with Soul, the podcast for visionary coaches and entrepreneurs, building your business with inspired action. In alignment with your mission and authentic message, so you can create impact for your soul clients and feel lit up every day. I'm your host, Jo Ingram, married mum of 3 daughters from London and a former ad agency director turned business coach and strategist. In Goals with Soul, we blend revenue generation with energetics, marketing strategies with pranic healing, and ambitious business goals with our soul's desires. If you're looking to build your business with less efforting and more ease, this is the podcast for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to Goals with Soul. I'm Jo Ingram, and you know what? When I was in corporate, I don't think I ever heard the word money mindset. I don't know if that's something that you've heard over the years, or whether, like me, it's something that's more recent since you've moved into the online business space and particularly coaching. Suddenly, money mindset is not only important, but absolutely vital. And it took me some time to realize that one of the biggest blocks I had to actually making money in my business and creating the impact that I wanted was the way that I viewed money. And I came from a childhood and background that was all about scarcity. Money doesn't grow on trees. We were told off if we didn't turn the lights out when we left a room. The heating used to get turned down a couple of degrees. You get the idea. We weren't on the breadline. But my parents were post-war baby boomers who were really brought up in a position of scarcity by their own parents who were living through the Second World War. And the idea that you ate your meat was something that they brought into parenting me. And by the way, I tell my children to eat your vegetables, but that's the difference between each of the generations. And so I entered into the coaching space, not really realizing how my own limiting beliefs about money were going to hold me back. And they manifested as being too uncomfortable to ask people to pay me. When I first started coaching, I coached 30 or 40 people, I think, for free before someone insisted that I gave them my PayPal link. And thankfully, after that, I started charging for my services. And more recently, it's about raising my rates. It has been something that I've had to go through a lot of self-work to be in a position to charge the sort of rates for the programs and the transformations that I'm creating. And although I feel so much stronger now about my money mindset, I consistently work at it. I am obsessed by money mindset and money manifestation books. And I am going to share some of my favorites really, really soon because they're making a big difference in my life. And I love speaking to experts on this exact topic because money mindset and actually wealth creation and viewing your business as a profitable entity rather than a side hustle or a hobby is what's going to make all the difference to the success that you make with money and how you impact other people. And importantly, we should never forget this, how lit up you feel. And I know that I feel lit up when my business is making money. And I'll tell you why. It's not just because I love to see those zeros, although who doesn't like to look at their bank account and see money in there? But the key reason is I love spending it on things for my business. I love employing other coaches. I love the fact I'm working with a social media manager right now. I love the fact I get my podcast episodes edited and I have the support of a VA. I feel supported and I know that I can build my business with more ease because the money's flowing through my business. I'm earning it and I'm able to grow my business because I'm also investing it. And if you're like me in this matter, then one of the questions that you might have is, well, actually, how do I get to that position? How do I earn more money? And if you're already at a place where the money's flowing through, you are also going to be really, really interested in what my guest today has to share, because she believes that it's not just about the money we make in our business, but how we invest it in order to create genuine wealth and financial freedom. I'm joined today by Dominique Mullally, who is a profit and wealth strategist, as well as host of the Financially Fierce Females podcast. Dominique helps ambitious entrepreneurs with the mindset and strategies to market and sell with conviction and ease, but without the sleaze. After 13 years in business and working as a consultant for corporates and SMEs, Dominique is on a mission to help others build their businesses as highly profitable assets by actually maximising sales and profit to build real sustainable wealth. I'm excited to share this episode with you today because we really dive into how you can tell if you're actually going to make money, which Dominique has a way for you to find this out instantly, and also how to lean into aligned pricing so you can increase your prices but not feel icky whilst you're doing it. We're going to talk about the importance of energy when it comes to not only raising your vibration but creating real wealth, as well as the importance of your mission, which is an area I absolutely adore talking about and teaching. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hey, Dominique, welcome to Goals with Soul.
Hello, how are you?
Fantastic. So happy to have you here. I have always known that one part of my journey, and I know so many others, has been getting to grips with the idea of wealth and profit. And I know that's an area that you absolutely specialize in. Well, could you fill us in with how you got there and what it is that you do?
Yeah, and you're right. It's a topic that I'm extremely passionate about and I always have been, but really, I guess, that has really been embedded in the last couple of years through a change of my own personal circumstances. But to give you the backstory, I used to be a financial advisor. So I've always been involved in financial services and wealth management. And I started my journey working in banks and evolved into becoming a financial advisor. And that was, that journey was really important for me to go through because as a woman, especially as a woman in business, I think it's really, really important to know how to build wealth using our business. So as women, we often make the best investors, but we're quite apologetic almost in making money and in knowing what to do with the money that we're making in our business. And I always say that your business is one of the best wealth creation assets that you could ever have because it has the capability to give us unlimited return on investment. And, from a financial planning perspective, there is no asset out there that can provide those types of unlimited returns. And the only variable is on us. It's on how we show up. It's the effort that we put in and how unapologetic we are in actually staking our claim as a business owner and in making that money. So financial empowerment for me has always been really, really important. But as I said, over the last couple of years, it's become more important because of a change in my own circumstances. And one thing that I often would see as a financial advisor is really strong, articulate, smart women who lose themselves and surrender their financial powers and end up in positions where they're actually unable to afford to maintain their lifestyle. So as part of the work that I do with women in business, it's helping them to understand how to maximize the profits in their business and how to build it as an asset, but also how to make smart decisions financially from a personal perspective so that they can actually start using their business as a leverage to actually build personal wealth as well.
Now, this sounds absolutely amazing, but I am going to ask you to break it down because when we use words like leverage our business for personal wealth creation, it sounds amazing. But what are we really talking about in practice?
Yeah. So by definition, what I mean is building a portfolio of assets, like an ecosystem of assets that allow you to actually start to work your way towards financial freedom or financial independence. Now, financial freedom and financial independence are very, very different. But it's putting yourself in a position where you start to build a lifestyle where your assets can pay for your lifestyle and provide you with the income without having to trade that time for money. So we hear people talk a lot about passive income in business, and that, I get a bit of a bee in my bonnet about that because there is actually no true in business. There is no real such thing as passive income. Passive income, by all accounts, really only comes from things like stocks and shares. Is where you're not having to actually facilitate a trade of time or money to actually then receive the income. Because even with the likes of property and things like that, you're still having to manage the property, or you have some kind of involvement. Maybe you're renovating that property, maybe you're flipping that property. So there's always still comes some kind of involvement But I help women understand that their business should be, the money that they're making in their business should be used to actually build themselves wealth. So when we're looking at our business, one of the first things we do is really understand what's the vision and where do you want to go? And how do we facilitate that? Because you're either building what we call a legacy business, which is where there is maybe the option to sell the business as a viable asset at some point in the future, and you realize your wealth, which is a capital value upon sale of that in the future, and that's how you would build out your retirement. Or you start to make provisions to actually build out your retirement and your wealth during the lifetime of that business. So it means that you're not potentially looking to sell it. And the reason that's important is because 80% of women go into poverty in retirement. And it's because of things like women don't consider it as important as men traditionally, but also as well, women's circumstances are different in that they take time out to actually raise families and things like that. So it's really, really important that we as women start thinking about how we're using the money that's coming into our business to actually really build us a portfolio of assets that can start the ability to actually start building us some wealth.
Oh, well, there's so much to dive into here, but I almost don't know which way to go first. But I'm going to ask, actually, when it comes to making those decisions about where you invest the money that you're making from your business, when is too early to start?
Never. Never. And this is the thing, I don't give personal advice anymore. But they always say, when was the best time to plant an oak tree? It was 200 years ago. When's the best time? Second best time? It's today. And it's the same with investing. There is never a right time to start investing or to start considering that investment journey. But, I see a lot of women making good money in their businesses, but not being smart or practical with the money they're making. And we live in a society of consumerism, where most people are in consumerism cycles where they're accumulating liabilities, which are things that cost us money rather than being focused on things that make us money. And our business is just one of those assets. There are many things that we could look at, like stocks and shares, property, bonds, cryptocurrency. There's all types of things that we could start to consider as part of those ecosystems. But if you haven't started this journey, then it's something you want to start considering today rather than tomorrow, for sure.
Fantastic advice. I mean, it's something that I've been into for a while, very lightly. The whole FIRE movement really started to appeal to me, this idea of financial independence and how to work that way. And I think that was one of the decisions that made it easier to embrace my own business and moving out of corporate, where I didn't see the opportunity to really scale my income. But one of the big challenges, and mostly we're coaches and we're building real heart-centered businesses where we're serving people that need a transformation and creating something from our own personal time and energy at this point. And certainly when you talked about those two options about selling a business at the end or actually creating the wealth while you're in the business, it's the latter that seems to be the model in the industry with which most coaches I know work. Yeah. And the idea being is how quickly can I make money and can I scale, and to be actually in a position to have the money to invest rather than still wondering how the business is going to meet my mortgage commitments, for example, or am I going to have enough money to invest in my coach or to invest in a social media manager, or all the things that are certainly liabilities potentially that have to happen in order to create us to be ready to step into our next level. And you mentioned right at the beginning about stepping up and being ready and playing big. Yeah. And that's something I'd love to ask you about, because when it comes to wealth creation in the first instance, it takes a particular mindset and a particular attitude. And I know that's something that you dive into quite a lot. Can you share some ideas and tips about what we should be doing now to actually start creating the wealth?
Yeah, you have to believe firstly that it's possible. And as I said, your business is one of the best wealth creation assets that you could ever have. It's the only asset that you will ever have that, as I will allow you the opportunity and the possibility to make unlimited amounts of income. The thing that stops us is what we believe and how we perceive. And as females in business, what we believe is that it's is usually, it's not possible for us. And this obviously doing a generalization here, but a lot of the time we don't believe that is possible. And B, we perceive that when it comes to the selling of our services, that we should be holding back from that we're doing something to someone rather than for someone. The only way to create wealth is to build secure foundations. And the only way that we can do that is by making the money is making money in your business and making good money, and then having the capacity to effectively manage that. When you have the ability to do that, then that's when you can start to actually invest the money that then starts to afford you the ability to actually start building your wealth and accumulating those assets.
And so what are the beliefs that you see in successful women who are building highly profitable businesses that we should seek to model?
Yeah. I think there's two camps. There's the woman who hasn't yet mastered making money in her business, and then there's the woman who is making the money in the business, but then has a whole different mindset shift around, or has a whole different mindset beliefs around what it means to be making that money. So for the women who are struggling to make money, it's things like believing that they're not good enough, or that they're not worthy, or money is a bad thing, or that they should feel guilty and it's, they're greedy for wanting more. And then when they start to make the money in their business, a lot of guilt plays into it for women. So what I always say is that women actually have more of a fear of success than they have of a fear of failure. So for men, because women are values driven and we love to be part of something and to contribute. So because of that, we're very heart centered. Men are very driven by their egos, right? So it's money for them is usually about power, and it's about status and things like that. So because of that, for women, they can quite often feel guilty when they start to make money, like they shouldn't be making this money because it means something about them. It means that they're a bad person, or that they're leaving people behind. Or it can actually be that they're then going to have to assume more responsibility, whether it be financial responsibility or emotional responsibility. So there's so many different layers and facets that play into women capping their income. But obviously for everyone, it's personalized. No one has the same story. No one has the same past. No one has the same traumas. And we form these beliefs based on our experiences, our early experiences, the things that we saw, we heard, and we felt in our early years in our relationship with money and what it means to be a person of wealth. And especially if you come, if you're from the UK and you come from like a working class family, there are terms that you would hear over and over again, like, don't forget where you come from, don't be getting above your station. All of these types of things play subconsciously into actually limiting a woman's ability to really break past certain glass ceilings in relation to income earning. So it's so complex. And as I said, there's no one size fits all when it comes to actually breaking through some of these barriers. And the biggest part of actually having the ability to break into that next level of revenue is the awareness piece, is really understanding and noticing and paying attention to how you're talking about money. How are you responding when you're having to ask someone for money, or when you're having to promote and sell your services? It's the awareness piece, which is the biggest part of actually putting yourself on the path to being able to change the outcome.
Oh, and what you say rings so true. I mean, I've gone through this myself. My clients regularly go through this. You can see this on Instagram every single day, where people are being authentic and vulnerable, that actually asking for money, particularly for an exchange of coaching, is something that people take a long time often to feel the confidence to step into their whole power about being worthy of charging high ticket prices, and prices that are actually in line with the transformation that they create. Instead, they think that sounds like a lot of money for an hour, but actually they're not thinking about what the value of what they're really doing is and what they're really delivering, which is absolutely fascinating. And I know from my own path that perhaps it isn't too dissimilar to your own, that actually diving into energetic modalities can be an amazing way of starting to not only acknowledge, but actually to tackle some of those inbuilt limiting beliefs that we have of all things, but in this case, particularly money, And I would love to know about the modalities that you've been trained in and how you use them to transmute some of these feelings about money, either with yourself and with your clients.
Yeah, as I said, the awareness piece is a big part of it. And you're right, energy, money is, it's not called currency for no reason. We're the conduit. So the flow of money flows through us depending on how we're feeling and how we're resonating. And, without being woo and all of that, the law of resonance and the law of vibration affects how we act, how much money we're making and how much money we're receiving. So in terms of modalities, I'm qualified with NLP and EFT. I've got a diploma in analytical hypnotherapy. And the reason for that is we can believe something on a conscious level, but it's not the conscious level that we need to bypass. It's our unconscious thoughts, which manifest as actions before we even realize what's going on, that we need to then unpick. But the thing is as well, for women, money is such an emotive topic. And it's because of the feminine energy and the aspects of the value and the contribution and the nature and all of those things. And this is why men have no problems, applying for a job, whether they're fully qualified, for example, just use as an example, whether fully qualified or not, and asking for that pay rise because they truly believe in themselves and what they bring to the table and all the value that they can kind of bring in. Whereas for a woman, she's shy about that and she's unapologetic. So in business, we have to lean more into the masculine energy of being assertive when it comes to making money, when it comes to asking for the sale and being unapologetic in that. And again, that comes from an awareness piece. It's really understanding how your behaviors are playing out day to day. How are you showing up with your clients in terms of, as I said, when you're asking for the sale, how are you managing the money that's coming through your business? It's paying attention to all of these habits and behaviors because the manifestation of those are showing up every single day. And I always say I can predict your financial future based on your past, because unless you actually start to change these behaviors and these habits, you will repeat the same patterns over and over again. So it means if you're struggling to make money now, unless you begin to start to shift your mindset and become aware of the habits and the behaviors that are showing up, presenting for you in your business and your personal finances, because how you do anything is how you do everything. The two are interlinked. So if you're having a problem managing your personal finances, there's a good chance you're having a problem financially in your business as well. So you have to pay attention to that, and there's no escaping that. And that means putting on our big girl panties and leaning into that masculine energy and understanding that the only way for us to change that situation is to take radical responsibility, assess what is working, what isn't working, how are these things playing out for me day to day, and then start to understand and unpick how can we start to change that. And it might be that you need to invest in a mentor. It might be that you need to speak to a hypnotherapist or whatever it may be, or a coach, depending on what the circumstances may be. But it's being open to understanding that quite often the habits and the behaviors that present day to day are not your fault. They're things that you have learned along the way. And the only way to change the outcome is to unlearn the old habits and the old ways and relearn new ways of being.
Oh my gosh, so true. I know when I first started getting into the law of attraction and manifestation and learning all of that shizzle, I was like, right, so all it is I need to think positive thoughts and create some affirmations and basically watch it all arrive. And actually, it's only when you dive into it over a longer period of time and a little bit deeper that you realize the role that trauma and your childhood and limiting beliefs are going to play in your ability to actually move into that positive mindset. While they're still sitting there under the surface, you can recite affirmations all day long, but you're probably not going to actually create what you want.
They won't work because you have to be aligned. So going back to the point you raised about the energy, like, when some coaches will say to some of their coachees, like, just double your prices. And if you feel uncomfortable with that, so you have to, when we talk about selling, you have to believe in what it is that you're selling. You have to believe in that transformation, and you have to get the buy-in and the belief from the client or the customer. If you don't have that, then you are going to struggle to make sales in your business, and you're also going to struggle to make the money that you want in your business because there is a misalignment. So it's okay for people to say, well, just double your prices. But if you're at your core, you don't believe that your transformation is worthy of that value, then that shows up energetically when you're having conversations with your clients. It shows up, people can feel the energy. So it doesn't matter what you say to people, and whether you're speaking to them on Zoom, face to face, on a Facebook Live, whatever it may be, people can feel the energy. When you're desperate for sales and when you're desperate for money, people can feel that. So the energetic part of it is the biggest piece. And it comes back to, as I said, really truly understanding where your belief system is. And if with regards to your prices, it might be that you need to increase them incrementally to adapt to a level where you feel completely aligned with the price that you're actually presenting. Because as I said, it's all well and good saying, well, I'm charging £5,000 for, just using for example, for a package. But if in your mind you don't believe that your services are worth £5,000, then it means you're actually going to self-sabotage every time you have that conversation in one way or another.
I love hearing you say that, because it's validating my own approach, which is exactly what I did in my own business and exactly what I teach my clients and my students in my program, is that you have to feel it in order to have it.
Correct.
And actually increasing prices, often you can do that incrementally. And what amazes me is how fast you can do it incrementally. Correct. One of the biggest things I found, which it just was a revelation to me, is that I had a price in mind that I wanted to get to, a price that felt really aligned within the market, felt right for the transformation, but I was charging so much less than that it just felt, it stuck in my throat. When the thought of saying it out loud on a discovery call, I was like, you know what, I just can't say this. I'm clearly not aligned with it. So I'll raise my prices incrementally and pick the next price up. And you know what? The first time I said that price out loud and felt aligned with it and sold was the last time I used that price, because I was already embodying my next level. Yeah. And it was just a belief. And so I always teach, just go to your next level and feel it, live it. And maybe you need to sell it a few times. Maybe you need to sell it for 3 months, whatever feels right for you. Obviously, working with a mentor, you can have that barometer if you're holding on a little bit too tight for too long, and have that awareness, which I love that idea that the awareness is the most important piece. Yeah. But ultimately get where you're going in alignment. So thank you for sharing that too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because it's the most important thing. Like, you have to have the confidence and the conviction. And if we think about how beliefs are formed, they're evidence-based. So if you start to increase your prices incrementally and you're aligned with that price, and then you get more people saying yes, it gives you the confidence and the conviction to then be like, yes, I can do this. And then you increase them again slightly, and it's all about the incremental increases, as opposed to, now I will caveat that with, if you are grossly undercharging and you are costing yourself money, then that's very, very different. But we're talking about moving into high ticket pricing where and that's the thing about services, because services isn't tangible. This is where people fall over, because it's not a tangible aspect. If you don't believe in the transformational value that you can offer to someone else, then why the hell would the customer or the client that you're actually having the conversation with? So that conviction piece and having the confidence within yourself to show up unapologetically and be like, my price is X. This is the transformation you will get as a result of working with me. That conviction, that confidence during that conversation goes a long way, as opposed to being unsure and dithering. And, the minute that the customer or a client feels an element of mistrust, you've lost the sale. So having that alignment, being in complete alignment with your pricing, and knowing that you have the conviction to actually get them results, is what gets you the sale. And the more that you become confident with that, I said, the more conviction you have, the more evidence that you get, you're getting the transformation results. And then that's how you start to build the snowball effect of actually increasing your prices incrementally to get you to that dream price of whatever that may be.
So true. I call it mission marketing. And I realized that when I created a mission for my business, my personal mission at this point is to help over-proving, highly driven women to create businesses with ease instead of efforting. And I personally do that through helping them with messaging clarity and attracting their soul clients, is the specifics of how I do it. But having that mission, because I experienced the burnout and the pain of having to judge myself purely on whether I'm worthy based on my achievements and all of this wounding stuff was actually something that then allows me to go out with utter conviction and be like, it's absolutely something I'm doing in service of the greater good because I feel so passionately about it. So then when you then translate that into, and here's my program, or here's my coaching, and here's my packages, it feels very natural, and rather than you feeling like a lack of confidence. And I know when you started off just now, Dominique, about talking about your personal mission, tell us a bit about that. Like, what's the bigger piece for you that gives you the conviction every day to show up and build your business?
Yeah, so I've always been fiercely independent when it comes to money and finances. That's always been my thing. And I built wealth at a very young age and put myself in a position where I am in a position where I'm financially independent. So I can choose not to work, or I can choose to work. But that became even more evident a couple of years ago. So I got married. And unfortunately, within 5 months of us making that commitment, the relationship imploded. So there was a change, obviously, in my physical relationship, but then I didn't have to worry about the emotional or the financial aspects and the knock-on effect that would have on my day-to-day life. So the thing that we also see with a lot of females, again, smart, fierce females, is that they surrender their financial powers and they don't focus on the wealth building element. So what happens is when they get into relationships, often if the relationship doesn't work out, they would have been accustomed to a certain lifestyle, but because they're not really providing fully for themselves, it means that if the relationship breaks up, their lifestyle changes. So what we see based on statistics is that 2 in 3 women will have to sell the marital home in the event of a relationship breakup. So for me, I've always been fierce about being financially independent as a female, but then having gone through that experience myself, I know how devastating it is to go through that type of breakup, but then to not have to worry about moving home or selling. So I was in a position where I was able to buy that person out. My life continues as if they weren't even there, because nothing changed for me. But that's not the reality for a lot of women. And so this is the sort of I see over and over again, is strong females who I guess surrender their powers when it comes to being in relationships. And we should always be building wealth together, because you're a team and you want to make sure that you're doing that. But as females, we also need to make sure that we're building our own financial independence and creating our own pockets of wealth for ourselves as well.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. I really, really get where you're coming from. I mean, something on a perhaps less dramatic level, but I see quite frequently, is when women are building their businesses and they want to get coaching. Oftentimes they're like, eek, I don't think my husband's going to be okay with this. And quite oftentimes people don't invest because they're worried about the impact on their relationship and the fact that they don't have access to the finances in order to make that independent decision for themselves. And, anyone listening to this podcast who is a coach is going to experience that when it comes to bringing people in and really helping them in the way they know that they're going to need it, and they can definitely get them there. But because there's this sort of dynamic around the finances, it becomes more difficult to actually get them to commit, and certainly more difficult to then get the transformation for them. And I decided I don't want to be in that position for myself, because coaches need coaches, and I have the most amazing coach, and she ain't cheap. And she's not the only coach I want to work with. There are several coaches that I would love to be working with simultaneously. Like, who doesn't? I mean, that's one of the things when I think about what would be my vision, how would I like my financial world to be, and how would I like to live my life? One of the things that I already have in my vortex is to work with the best coaches in the world that inspire me to fly to different places and get all that goodness working with like-minded women mostly, but men too. It's just like, how can I get out there and just absorb this growth? And of course, the gateway to that is finances. That isn't just going to be readily available. So, leaning into the ability to work with my coach as I am now is already taking me into step feeling that way, and my business is building. And I am totally with you on this. We should all be able to be financially independent enough to have that security and to be able to do those things in life to help our personal growth and to light us up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it's a non-negotiable. So one of the things we always, whenever I start working with someone, is we understand what the number is. What's the number that you would need every single month to provide you with that security and that independence so that you can sleep at night, and no matter what your circumstances are. Because, you know, people talk a lot about making six figures and like, and even the wealth element only comes when you have secured foundations, when you actually have mastered how to sell in your business and how to make money and how to generate and have the ability to do that over and over and over again. But I have a bit of a, I guess, a bee in my bonnet with the coaching industry and some of the, because I think there's an unconscious bias in that a lot of women feel like if they're not making six figures in their business, that they're a failure. And that means there's something wrong with them. And it's because there's these arbitrary numbers that are being pulled out of the air without a really true understanding of, okay, well, let's forget about those people. What is required for you every single month to give you financial security and independence and the ability to sleep easy and not have the anxiety of money worries? That's the first goal. Once we've benchmarked that, then we can worry about getting you to the six figures or the multi six figures or the seven figures, whatever your goal is. And if that is not your goal, then great. But I think, you know, as I said, in the online space, especially, there is a narrative that's being pushed continually around six figures of success. And it leaves women feeling like they're less than. And that's something that I'm really passionate about, as well as helping women to understand that your definition of success, the definition of success is something that's very personal. It's something that is only measured by you, and everyone's definition of success looks completely different because we all have different goals and different values and different visions and, you know, different dreams that we're aspiring to have. And it's important that you're building your business in the way that you want to build it. And if it takes you 3 years, 5 years, 10 years to get to multi six figures or whatever it is, then that's part of your journey. But I think women need to be running their own race and not be so focused on other people as well.
Such good advice. And I know that when I look around, and my own experience echoes this too, is that when we enter this online business world, we have this idea of instant success. And I think we're missold by some of the biggest players in the market who are like, hey, do this, this, and this, and you too could have a six-figure launch on your first rodeo. And the reality is that whilst there might be a tiny percentage of people that this is true for, there are literally tens of thousands of coaches joining the industry every year right now. And it won't be the reality for the majority, but that doesn't mean that they can't be incredibly successful in their business if you give it the time and you allow yourself the grace to fail, to try some things out, and to be a person that is earning less than you desire for the time it takes for you to earn more.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that we're talking about this, because I did an interview, a podcast, because I've got my own podcast as well, recently with Ruth Cudsey, and we talked about this. So Ruth Cudsey has got a training academy. She's now at seven figures, and she got 7 figures in 2 years, right? But she didn't really get 7 figures in 2 years. It was a 9-year journey. She was able to leverage an existing audience. She took in, all of the lessons that she'd learned along the way from being a teacher and all these different things. So I think it's really important that when people talk about these success stories, they give the full picture. They really help people understand what that journey actually looks like, because people might make 6 figures in one launch, but okay, well, how long have they been building their audience for? Are they leveraging other people? Do they have affiliate marketing? Do they have other people they're leaning on to help them actually market that program or that course? So I think people need to be more honest, because again, it's setting the expectation that being in business is easy. And like, I don't know whether I can swear or not, but I'm going to. It's fucking not. Being in business is hard. It's one of the hardest things that you will ever do. And I think, I always say that anyone can make money, right? Anyone has the ability to make money. But for you to replicate that effort every single month, continuously for the next 5 years, then let's talk. Because what I'm seeing is a lot of people who are coming into the online space think it's really easy because they're being sold a dream, and they're being left disheartened because, again, they're not meeting their own expectations based on this, unicorn whales that some people are portraying, that it's just easy to make 6 figures in one launch. As I said, we're not saying that doesn't happen, but the reality is that you have to have an audience. You have to have built a community. And there are also people out there, like some of the big names in the industry and some of the leaders, who use a lot of leverage by using affiliate marketing. So it is really important that when you hear these stories about people having these levels of success, that you have the self-awareness to say, well, okay, what's the bigger picture here? Like, how long has it actually taken to get to that? How big is their community? As I said, who are they pulling in to actually help, have those types of launches, success with those launches? So, I think there just needs to be a lot more transparency in the online space, because I feel like a lot of people are being set up to fail through no fault of their own, because, Instagram, it's all about that reel, the highlighter reel, and often the reality is not as glamorous as what is being portrayed out there in the space.
Exactly. It is so true. I mean, I've got in the habit now, when I see an overnight success, of actually looking into their past and understanding what exactly is an overnight success. And as well as having all of these networks around them, like affiliate marketing and so on, one of the biggest things I see, and we were talking about it so much today, is the fact that they've had an opportunity to get their mindset right. I often see that they owned businesses before. This is actually their third business. And although they can claim, I reached 6 figures in 6 months and 7 figures in 2 years, or whatever the claims are, actually that's only the recent incarnation of their business. And they were doing something related, something not dissimilar, something in a partnership. And they've been an entrepreneur for 10 years. But then this was their big breakthrough. They finally found the right thing for them. And they've got into this habit of, probably subconsciously now, accepting failure, moving forward with tenacity, resilience. And so now they're ready. They've done the work, but they weren't really an overnight success.
No, absolutely. Because it goes back to the foundational elements. Like, pre 6 figures, you have to have your mindset aligned. You have to have the right mindset to know who it is that you're speaking to, what is that you're promoting, what's your messaging, how are you connecting with them, all those things. And then you have to have the sales and the marketing down packed. And so for anyone who's never had a business before, those 3 aspects are the hardest to master. Once you master them, it's a completely different story. That's when you can actually move into the scale phase. But, the reality is that some of the biggest failures that I've had have actually been my most valuable lessons. And it's embracing, knowing that as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, whatever it is that you are going to fail at something. And the faster you fail, the faster you learn, the faster you grow. So we can't be afraid of failure. We can't be afraid of getting things wrong, because that's the only way that we can grow and develop. And, business and making, generating a lot of money in business is about mastery. And that's what it is. As you said, they've laid those foundations and they've mastered that process and that knowledge over and over and over and over again. So even with the overnight successes, it's all about the hockey stick effects. It's like we see like the line kind of goes like that, and then it flicks up all of a sudden, because it's been, maybe just hovering and a little bit consistent, and then all of a sudden it just peaks. And it's because of the compounding effect and the consistency of that mastery that happens over and over and over again. And every time something goes wrong, the most skillful and most successful entrepreneurs will take the time to understand, okay, what worked, what didn't, why did that go wrong? How can I avoid that next time? Or how can I apply the learnings from that so that I don't do, X, Y, Z, next time. So the lessons and building on the resilience is a big part of that as well. And that can only come from the mastery piece, which happens over time.
Oh, absolutely perfect. Thank you so much, Dominique. And can I invite you to share an inspired action idea for us this week?
Inspired action for this week. I would just say, just get out there and sell. get out there and sell, okay? Because I think this is generalized sweeping statements, but as females, we're almost apologetic in marketing our services and the promotions of our offers. And if you want to be making money in your businesses, you have to be visible. You have to have that omnipresence. Now, I'm not saying you have to be on social media all day, every day, but you have to get out there and sell, and you have to do it unapologetically. And remember that we're doing something for people and not to people. And it's a shift in a perception of mindset to know that you're in business to make impact, but also to make income as well. And we have to be unapologetic about that. So if you have a product or a service that you know that it just offers this amazing transformational result, then put it out there. If you're second guessing yourself, just go out there and face the fear, because the reality is that being in business is all about learning to work through our fears and to show up unapologetically over and over again. And that's the only way that you're really going to create success and the income that you desire that will give you the lifestyle that you want, which is the reason why you started your business.
I love that reality check, Dominique, because sometimes we do need reminding. And I love that about just get out and sell. And you said earlier about failure. And I think this is a great time to remember that the more times we ask for the sale and get a no, the more resilient we get, the more confidence we build. So go out, go for the no, right? Just go out and get loads of no's, because every single no is on your pathway to yeses.
Absolutely. But review and reflect on that as a big part of that. So when someone does say no, it's important for you to take the time to think, okay, what could I have done better? Why did they say no? Like, really understand it, because selling, and I said, making money in your business is about mastery. It's about taking the time to master it, because it's a process. That's all it is. But the energy is a big piece as well. But review and reflect. Every time you get that no, don't be afraid to kind of sit down and just take 5 or 10 minutes to just reflect on, okay, why did it come to that? How did I contribute? And then again, that's where the mastery piece comes into it. And knowing, when you know better, that's when you can do better. And that's when you can start to improve on your processes, and you'll have more confidence and more conviction to go out there and sell more and more.
And Dominique, where can we find you online?
So probably the best place is either Instagram or LinkedIn. So just my name, Dominique Mullally, and you can connect with me over there.
Fantastic. Just to say thank you so much for joining me today, Dominique. It's been an absolute delight.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
That was pure gold. I hope you agree that some of the things that Dominique shared are absolute fundamentals for us building our businesses. And I loved what we were talking about right at the end, which is about getting mastery over some pure fundamentals in your business before you can hope to scale. Before the 6 figures or more is even going to be a dream, you have to get the fundamentals of your business in place. And I see so many people moving quickly through the fundamentals and never quite nailing them, and then wondering why it's so hard to attract clients. And that's why I focus so much on messaging clarity. And that's the area that I've become best known for now, because without getting messaging clarity, which is really about knowing who exactly you are in the market, what it is you have to share that comes from your heart, that's going to help you stand out and be unique in your niche. Without that, it's going to be absolutely impossible for you to define what exactly your business does and how that's different from the thousands of others out there doing what seems to be the same. It's about understanding who your ideal client is, not just slapping a sticker on it and saying, yeah, it's a woman in her mid-40s, job done. It's about really understanding them, about their struggles and their desires in a way that allows you to resonate deeply with them in your content when you coach them. And doing that work can't be faked. And too frequently we see swipe files advertised or quick fixes, and not knowing any better, we buy mini courses or even high ticket programs which promise to teach us something in the image of the person that's teaching it, but without the foundations being in place. Now, those trainings are only going to work for you if you've got the foundations in place around your messaging and your ideal client, and thirdly, around your standout offer. You've really got to know what it is you're selling and exactly how it helps, what your promise is. And if you haven't got those things in place, it's going to be holding you back. The things that you are frustrated about are all going to come back to not having your messaging clarity sorted. And if that is you, I'm looking for 2 female coaches this month to join me in Time to Rise, which is the magnetic messaging program, which teaches you how to create and get clarity on your unique messaging, how to identify and resonate with your soul clients, and how to create your standout offer that you can sell on repeat. Now, if this is something you're interested in, I will mentor you through all of that. But first, jump on a call with me and see if this program is going to be a good fit for you. No obligation. I'm excited about talking with you. Just drop into the show notes and put time in, and we can dive into your messaging and assess why it's not yet hitting the mark. And so have an inspired action week. Take care. Bye now.